confused by the Mark Twain description of the beautiful sunsets. I drove east on every west-facing road in the county looking for that beautiful, extraordinary Midwest sunset. And in the late 70s, I had finally gotten enough funds to have a boat on the river for a few years, and I came down and I looked back at what I'd read. Lock and Dam 16 began construction in 1933. It was completed in 1936. Prior to then, the big summer holiday was Geneva Island, which is up past the old prime mover plant, 4 or 5 miles. And it was higher and larger than any other islands. And you go back when Gil Deach used to write the old histories in the newspaper, he spoke about the picnics and the summer holidays and the houses that were built on it, because it was such a great place to go in the days way before Evinrude. And it was, and I've been in that area in my boat and come down. And when you come down the river, you're going west, and the sun sets in Lock and Dam Pool 16. And Mark Twain obviously went to picnics. Anyway, those are the kinds of things that lock us into August Bepple that cut his foot on a clamshell and invented the buns.
Thank you. Thank you, and I do apologize again for those that read the paper and thought they wouldn't get a chance to speak and so didn't attend tonight or didn't prepare something to say. So again, I apologize. Ma'am, please state your name and address.
My name is Grace Steckman. I live at 1604 Foster Street here in Muscatine. I just wanted to say I look at that picture up there and I think, well, is that a Picasso? Or, and then you talk about where the river takes a turn for the better, and I thought, well, they're a bunch of snobs. And then I think, well, the river's running through the middle there. Now, which side of the river is Muscatine on? And to me, it's very confusing and does not enlighten me much about Muscatine. And I do know that when I look at that other logo, I knew right away it was a sunset, and it always makes me think of Samuel Clemens saying about our beautiful sunsets. And Muscatine is unique in that it does have the pearl button industry here, and Austin, Minnesota is unique because Hormel is there and the Spam Museum is there. And people come to Austin, Minnesota so they can see the Spam Museum, and that's the only thing they have. And so I think we still need to keep the focus on what God has blessed us with, and that's the Pearl of the Mississippi. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Clark House.
Roger Roth, Clark House. Will the Chamber of Congress chairman yield to a question?
You can go ahead and ask it now, and then after we're done, I'll
Okay.
ask him to come up.
What was your logo for the Pearl Muscatine? Is that
Was
the
there a logo attached to the tagline? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We'll get him to answer that when he comes back up. How's that?
Okay. If that's what it is, we got to remember also we have truckers that have their own logos for different cities. It's like what they were saying earlier, the Big Apple, Chi-Town, and so on. That automatically identifies the town. When the lady said, the Pearl. short, sweet, to the point, and that automatically defines Muscatine. It doesn't have to go all that lengthy in relation to people identifying what you're looking for. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Sally Flatland at 3005 West Folium Avenue.
What, could you spell your last name?
Oh, Flatland, just the way it sounds?
Just the way it sounds.
Yep, yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to speak from the perspective of a new resident, about a year and a half. Moved here from Arizona for a job. And so, unlike all the long-term residents here who have invested a lot of time, I think about the time when I got my job here and I was moving, and I look online, and I remember seeing Pearl of the Mississippi, and it's catchy, and it made me look into what is that name? Why is that? And so then you learn about the history of this place. I can't imagine looking up where the river takes a turn for the better and wonder why that. What does that mean? You know what I mean? So it was really catchy for a new person coming to town. So you have to think about bringing new people in and what that might mean to them. So, and also the river takes a turn for the better, to me, has a very negative connotation. Just like, I don't know his name, but what he mentioned earlier about, you know, you get out of here kind of thing, but also just, it reminds me of the, you know, takes a turn for the worse saying. And so that's what comes to my mind, is that saying when I hear that. So to me, it's just a negative connotation. But
Thank you. Thank you for coming down. Anyone else? Greg Jenkins, do you mind coming up and answering Mr. Roth's question, and we'll see if council has any more for you. So Pearl of the Mississippi, the tagline, is that associated with your logo? Is it tied to it?
It has been, yes.
It has been. Okay. Council, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm just a little curious. One other thought, you know, the reason why I asked those questions in the email, which I've already forwarded to you, I was doing some research on Wikipedia, trying to figure out about the flag and this whole issue. You know, Wikipedia shows Muscatine, Pearl of the Mississippi. I'm like, interesting. So that's why I'm asking, how do you get that, where the intellectual property got shifted, how, and Wikipedia says, where the Pearl of the Mississippi? Okay, that's all. I just wanted to share that thought.
I think it's always been, and perhaps I'm wrong, but commonly accepted for a lot of people to use that line, that tagline in the community.
It is, and
you've always allowed that?
Well, many people do come and get a license, for $1, and so they sign an agreement and they show us what they're going to use it for, and they pay us $1, and we let them use that.
Okay. Councilman Brackett?
Yeah, I've had strong opinions on this from the beginning. I know when it was, you don't need to stay up there. When it was first showed, when I was first shown this marketing campaign, I had reservations about it, but I also recognized all the work that had gone into creating it, that there was multiple stakeholders involved, and I was willing to set aside my personal feelings on the logo and the tagline to move forward with that. That being said, since that time, the community has overwhelmingly mirrored my feelings on the logo and the tagline. I do like the concept that was mentioned earlier of using Pearl of the Mississippi in combination with something new. I don't feel that the bend in the river is the way that phrase turns doesn't sit well with me at all either. Something along the lines of Pearl of the Mississippi, you know, where opportunity flows, or something along those lines, I think would be great. In that addition, the logo, though, my frank description of it is that it really feels like, I don't know if you know the phrase, a camel is a horse designed by committee. I feel there's a lot of good ideas, a lot of good intentions, and a lot of debate has probably gone back and forth about the logo, and I feel that that logo is the culmination of those things, but it's not necessarily the product that it should have been. And so that's my stance on it, just to be very clear.
Councilman Harvey.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the logo and the tagline. Besides you, yes.
Did you have more comments?
Yes, I did, quite a few.
Okay.
The original, or as it exists now, the stylized sunset, you know, when I look at it, to me it looks rather anemic for a logo. Because if you just present that logo by itself, much like that one, by the way, but if you present it by itself, is that a top of a picket fence, or what is it? And because there's no color to it, and if you want to associate that with a beautiful sunset, it certainly doesn't convey that message. And Max may disagree with me, Max Churchill, but that quote from Mark Twain is sort of taken out of concept, because if you read the entire preceding part of that quote, Mark Twain is talking about visiting Muscatine and going for a walk and being held up at gunpoint. And he goes into that quite extensively, and then he says, oh, by the way, I also remember Muscatine for its sunsets. So it's kind of a rhetorical, almost, type of a quote. And when I first looked at that logo, I didn't particularly like it either, because, again, standing by the new proposed logo, standing by itself, you wonder, what the hell is that? You know, and I'm not a graphic artist or anything, but, you know, if, speaking about the pearl, if they could put a pearl on that bend in that river, at least it'd locate, kind of visually locate what we're talking about. You know, it's that spot on the river. And I don't, as kind of a compromise position, I also agree that if we could, you know, keep that logo with or without the pearl on it, and use the combined tagline, Pearl of the Mississippi, or if we want to change it slightly, Pearl on the Mississippi, and then where the river takes a bend for the better, at least it's identifying Muscatine, where we're at, what we view ourselves as being the pearl on the Mississippi, and taking where the river takes a turn for the better. By the way, when I first looked at that line, I agree with the comment that my first impression was, are they saying when you leave Muscatine going to Bend either way, you're getting better? It's better to be up in the Quad Cities, or it's better to be down in Burlington. So I think that tagline by itself was rather non-complimentary, depending on how you interpreted, you know, what it meant. So if we're not voting tonight, but if I had my choice, we would maybe keep that logo, but definitely incorporate the tagline, Pearl on or Pearl of the Mississippi, and then you could include where the river takes a turn for the better. So that's my comments at the moment.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. Well, it sounds like we're going to hear some, or at least get to see some other options back. They're going to look at a couple of things to add Pearl of the Mississippi to that. Is that what we were told earlier? Yes. So I think we'll be waiting anxiously to see what they come up with.
Your Honor,
yes.
I just had another thought. Part of what North Star did was conduct a lot of community sit-downs. You know, what's good, what's bad about Muscatine with a lot of people, but I'm not sure who selected the groups that they're talking to, but they didn't seem like necessarily an ordinary citizen, but they spent, what did we spend? Over $40,000 on North Star, and they wrote quite a report about what they learned that was good and bad about Muscatine. And then I guess the original intent was, how can we market Muscatine? Well, what they learned good and bad about Muscatine, how is that incorporated at all in that proposed logo and proposed tagline? It seems like they were interviewing for one thing, and they came up with something that doesn't relate with what they were learning about Muscatine, with the goods and the bad. I thought they were going to tell us, here's what's bad about Muscatine, and maybe you ought to be working on these areas, but that really seemed like secondary to using the new logo and the new tagline. It's like it got lost, and we're not going to take advantage of what they taught us, what changes ought to be made. And
I completely agree with you, Councilman. I was one of the people that was interviewed, and I think I was in an appointment for well over an hour, and we talked about a great deal of things in Muscatine that I thought were wonderful and things that could be improved. And I guess I never really got the impression that the final product was going to be a logo or a tagline, but that they were working on an entire branding piece.
When I voted for spending the money, I had no idea that was the end goal.
I understood it to be a whole new marketing branding concept, and when it came out, I also wondered, how did that fit into the hour and a half that I sit down and talk to them? I guess I just didn't see where that tied in. Not that I agreed or disagreed with it.
That's all I had.
Okay. Anyone else? We'll put this to rest for the evening. I would just like to say, on a personal note, I am pleased that they will be coming up with some type of a compromise that will help everyone. I appreciated the comments that we don't want to be angry. We want to work together and have this be a successful thing for everyone. And the Pearl is important to me as well. My great-grandfather was in the business right here locally, and my grandma's name was Pearl as a result of that. So it's very important to me also. And I certainly want to echo everyone's comments that they appreciate everyone coming out and taking the time and caring. You know, isn't that what we all want? We want everybody to care about our community and want what's best for it. And whether you think we should have this or should have this, the whole point is that we all care. So let's keep with that. Pardon me.
Your Honor, I was just wondering if we should read Councilmember Saucedo's comments into the record.
Sure, go ahead.
I'll just go ahead. Councilmember Saucedo apologized for you. He was sick tonight and sent along some comments as well. So, and apologizes for that. View on tonight's agenda. After making a few calls and doing more research, I confirmed that the Pearl of Mississippi logo is owned by the Chamber of Commerce, as Greg mentioned last week. When others want to use it, they have to obtain a license, even when MPW has to request the logo for the water tower. The City of Muscatine has their own logo, and it has continued to use that logo for the most part on city structures, that half star. It is not the Pearl of the Mississippi logo. We all, we as a city do not have to adopt the new logo. We can continue the current City of Muscatine logo, but the discussion should not revolve around the Pearl of the Mississippi logo, as the city does not own it and seldom uses it. Rejection and adopting the logo does not preclude the current owner, GMCCI, from adopting it, or for any other entity to license and use it as it is copyright protected by GMCCI. Too many in the community, the narrative seems to reflect the City of Muscatine decides the Chamber logo, which has become the primary community logo and tagline over time. The city does not have that authority. Conversely, I'm not sure GMCCI does want to adopt it with the turmoil surrounding the subject, but that really is a determination to be made by the Chamber Board and their president, not by the council. I am and was in favor of the new branding marketing campaign when first discussed in 2015. They could have updated the Pearl of the Mississippi logo to modernize it, but believe the tagline Pearl of the Mississippi should be maintained. I'm open to a hybrid of what Bill Trent had mentioned in last week's City Council meeting of combining tagline as future outlook. I know and understand many people worked on this project and believe that the new logo tagline, but this project has ended up needing much more input for an effort this big. Currently, I'm in favor of keeping our current city logo, half star, and let the chamber and other groups use the new logo / tagline as they choose. This is my view as of today's meeting, as this is to be a consensus view. I did note that what our recommendation was about keeping the city's current logo and just using the new logo and tagline in our marketing efforts, and that would work for Mr. Saucedo.
Thank you. As we prepare to close out tonight's council meeting, I'd like to ask individual council members if they had anything that they wanted to share additionally. Councilman Harvey.
If I recall correctly, isn't the second Saturday coming up?
It is.
Okay, so
This coming Saturday.
recommended everybody get out to the second Saturday of this year.
All right. Thank you. Councilman Malcolm.
Just a little note, reminder for council members, as known that I do disaster services with the Salvation Army. And as you've been watching on the news, my wife and I are probably on standby to be deployed into the area for that. So as soon as we know, we'll notify everybody else. But yeah, that's probably expected. And we just ask that you keep us in prayer while we're out doing what we do. Neighbors helping neighbors.
Thank you. Absolutely. Councilwoman Brockert.
Oh, a couple things. If you go to Second Saturday this Saturday, please bundle up. Otherwise, you'll wind up like Councilman Saucedo. And then the Riverbend neighbors will meet on Monday evening at 7 o'clock down at the South End Fire Station, and everyone is invited to attend.
Very good. Councilman Fitzgerald.
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
You always do that.
He always does. Councilman Brackett.
All right, I had a few people comment to me about how I missed last week's meeting, and I just wanted to make sure people understood I was pretty deeply involved in a friend and coworker's wedding, so I was not able to be here. I was pretty tied up most of the week and otherwise would not have missed the meeting. The other thing, too, is this next Friday, not tomorrow, but next Friday, is the Over the Edge event in downtown Muscatine, where there's a number of people that will be rappelling down the side of the Laurel building on the corner of 2nd and Iowa. And it'll start at 10 a.m. and goes through, I think, 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. Might be 6. Depends on how long it takes us all to get down. I'll be one of them. I don't know. I'll be one of the ones going down. If you want to see me scuttling down the side of the building, I think I start around noon. So, but...
Take you 6 hours to get down or 5 hours to get down?
No, hopefully it takes me an appropriate amount of time and not, not a quick drop. Yeah, so I look forward to that, and it was a fundraising effort for Muscatine Special Olympics, Muscatine Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the Chamber Ambassadors. So it's going to do a lot of good in the community, and it'll be a lot of fun. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelsey, I hope it takes you longer than about 5 seconds to get down.
Hopefully it does. It'd be, as long as I stopped at the appropriate pace, it'd be fine.
You know there's a roundabout on your way down.
And I was smart enough to say no when they asked me would I like to do that. Staff, did you have anything?
Just a reminder to take a look at the notifications that have been going out on a daily basis regarding the flooding and closures, et cetera, on the city's Facebook page and on press releases. It's been changing about every day.
And I just had a couple of things that I would like to share. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. As I said, it's our pleasure to have you be here tonight and share your thoughts and ideas with us. Next, I'd like to share, this is every year I have the pleasure of visiting with every 6th grader at Central Middle School and talking to them about local government. They come to see me here in groups of 20 to 25, and it takes me 2 days to get through all of them because there's quite a group. Today I had an appointment I couldn't possibly get out of, and I wanted to thank Councilman Brackett for stepping up. Did they treat you okay?
Yeah, what I found out is that in a group that size, there's 2 to 3 students of that age that are extremely vocal, and then there's a few that follow, about the same number that fall asleep. And
Had a couple of those,
quite a
had
few
a
that,
lot
you know,
of raising your hand.
pay close attention. But yeah, no, it was a good time. I really enjoyed doing that. And if you need someone to stand in the future, let me know.
I will do that. I always get to wow them with the story about the bridge up here, because they always ask me, is that our bridge we have right now? And I say no. But when I was your age, I got to walk down to the riverfront for our field trip and watch them blow that bridge up, because we had a new bridge, and it was a ton of fun. And they're all like, what kind of dynamite did they use? And is dynamite really a real thing? And they're quite a challenge, but it's our pleasure to do so. So thank you again, Kelsey.
You're welcome.
Next, I would like to share that we are saying goodbye and retiring one of our firefighters, Brian Wright. He's been a firefighter with our community for many, many years, and he has been hired as the emergency manager for Muscatine County. And so he's retiring from our fire department and is having an open house on Friday, October 19th from 2 to 4 at the Public Safety Building. If any of you know him and would wish to come and congratulate him on his retirement and his new venture for the county, I'm sure that he would appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight, and hearing nothing else, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.